What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to One on One, a KC Sports Network podcast. I am your co-host, Mike DeVito, here with 9-year NFL veteran and Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl champion, Jeff Allen. And we are here to bring you all things Chiefs football from a player's perspective. Before we jump into the episode, as always, this podcast is brought to you by Cookie Society Cookies. Best cookies in the nation, all different kinds. You can't get this anywhere else. And now, Jeff, I'm starting to see these copycat companies come up on Facebook and stuff, and they're breaking the cookies. I'm like, no. See, that's how you know you're successful when now you got other companies trying to steal your flow. So
yeah, definitely. I think we're ahead of the curve. So
ahead of the curve by a million miles. So check them out. Cookiesociety.com. They ship nationwide. Make sure to check those out. We're linemen. We know our cookies. Cookiesociety.com. Big Jeff, what's up, brother? How we doing today?
I'm doing good, man. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, brother. Well, let's jump into a hard topic to start before we get into the more fun stuff, and that's getting cut, right? So this has changed a couple times throughout my career, and now, obviously a couple of years out of the NFL, when guys get cut, how many players start, how many players, when the breakdown is for guys getting cut. But we just had cuts recently. 4 or 5 guys get released from the Chiefs on every team. I think it was 4 or 5 guys. And I just wanted to pick your brain sort of on some stories that you have, some stuff you can reflect back on. Because I guess I'll start. For me, I remember my rookie year. This wasn't even training camp yet. This was rookie mini camp. And I was with the Jets 2007. And back then they brought in, Jeff, unless I'm just missing it, I think they brought in like 100 guys. I mean, there was a ton of guys. We had a ton of guys for rookie training camp, rookie mini camp before the veterans were even there. And I remember some of these guys were studs. I mean, guys that I had watched play in college, guys that I knew, All-American, All-Conference. A guy from my school, from the University of Maine, signed with the Jets as an undrafted free agent, who we all thought was going to get drafted. And he came into rookie mini camp with me, with the Jets. So I was like, wow, look at all these players. Like, how am I ever going to compete and stack up against these guys? And I remember after one day, so we started with 100. After one day, they cut 50 guys. And a number of those guys were some of the best players. My buddy from the University of Maine, who was an All-American, who was a much better player than I was. And all these other guys from all these big schools. And I'm thinking, how am I ever going to make this teams if these guys have been here for 45 minutes and they're getting cut? It's just amazing how things can play out. And then the next day, another 30 guys get cut. I think we had 20 rookies that went into training camp that year with the Jets. And so it's really such a wild business in this regard. And we'll get into that. But just so what are some of your memories from either, you being a rookie and seeing guys get released and what that was like, the pressure, and just being a veteran?
It's a tough business. For me, honestly, it started before I got in the NFL. I saw Hard Knocks. I was watching Hard Knocks, and I remember thinking, like, the storylines, thinking, how in the hell am I going to make it in this league? And then when you actually get there and you see all that goes into it, everyone's good. There's a ton of great players. It's the best of the best. You don't make it there for nothing. But ultimately, it comes down to numbers. It's a business. There's different variables, different factors as to why some guys don't make the team. It's not necessarily about who's the best sometimes. It comes down to who's getting paid the most. Right. Who did I invest in the draft? I can't give up on a top 3 round pick right away. Maybe an undrafted guy that may be better than that first rounder. But unfortunately, ownership isn't going to let that happen. Yeah. So things like that happen, and you see it. It's tough, man. I remember the first cut day in training camp. We had, I don't remember the exact number of guys, but at least 20 guys got released. And it was just, guys getting picked off. Hey, come here, such and such needs to see you. And you just see trash bags getting filled with all of your, equipment, everything that's in your locker. And some guys get picked up, but unfortunately, that's the end for a lot of guys. And it's really a sad reality, but that is the nature of the business.
And it is. It gets harder as it goes, right? Because just training camp alone. It's one thing when somebody gets cut. These new guys get cut during OTAs or rookie mini camp, and then you get into the preseason and preseason game 1, but by the time you get to the end of the preseason, right, where you're getting down to that 53-man roster, And you have these guys that you've been with now for 6 months.
Yeah.
And, just that amount of time, you're really starting to build that bond and that friendship. And that's what training camp is about. And, that last cut, which we'll talk about when we get there, is really difficult. But yeah, I mean, I got really lucky. There's really, especially for undrafted guys, there's really an element of luck, like you said. The first thing I got to thank my agent, because they have these algorithms and different things that breaks down, where you best fit, right? So if you don't get drafted in the seven rounds of the NFL draft and you become a free agent, your agent is going to look at all the different teams and trying to figure out your best scenario. And so he had everybody's salary, everybody's age, everybody's productivity, and breaking down the whole thing. And it's like a computer program. He plugs it in, and the Jets pop out as my best fit, right? The Jets are the best place for you to go, which obviously, like I told before, that's the team I grew up rooting for. So that was really a blessing. But not only that, I get into camp, and my buddy that I played with at Maine, we're coming from a 4-3 defense at Maine, going to the Jets, which in 2007, which is static 3-4, right? So head up end, nose, head up end, and then your outside rushers. And I was able to keep my hand in the dirt as an outside end. My buddy, who was an end in college, now had to stand up and played that in between linebacker end position.
Yep.
That's hard.
Different beast.
Oh, it's a totally different beast. But in this defense, there's no, he's not big enough to play that, that four technique might as well be a three technique or a nose. I mean, those guys are 300 pounds. This guy was like 275.
Yeah.
And so this is the importance of finding a good agent to put you in the best situation. But it's also a matter of luck, right? I got to be in a position where I could thrive. This is a guy that probably, had he had gone to a place that allowed him to put his hand in the dirt and just get after the ball and rush the passer, he probably would have played in the league for a while. But because he got put, in this situation, and now he has to figure out how to play that stand-up end position and drop into coverage, which he's never done, he gets cut day one after rookie minicamp. And he gets no other, because you're not going to get another shot after that. If you don't make it past day one of rookie minicamp, it's not likely, it's likely that a team isn't going to try on you. You can say, well, the guy can't get past one day. And so it's a matter of getting a good agent to get you in a good situation, and getting lucky about where you're at. I had 3 or 4 guys ahead of me: Kimo von Oelhoffen, Bobby Hamilton, all of our football historians will remember these guys. But these guys, when I was coming in the league in 2007, were 14 and 15 year players who had high cap numbers and who just knew they weren't going to make the team. And they were saying, if you show up even a little bit, you have a really good shot to make this squad. And so I guess all of that, to just reiterate, there's a massive element of luck. It's not always about, can you perform? It's can you perform, and have you been put in the best situation to perform?
And can you stay healthy?
And forget it. Injuries.
If you get hurt, especially as an undrafted guy, game over. I mean,
over.
And those are things that you can't control, and unfortunately, those happen. But even with that, I think just seeing the chip that guys that are later round picks and undrafted guys, the chip they have on their shoulders, it's the reason why a lot of those guys end up being successful. I mean, you look at the statistics, there's a lot of successful undrafted free agents in the NFL, and that's because of, not getting everything handed to them.
That's right. That's right. You see that number in the background.
70. Yeah, I see it. That's Mike DeVito's of the world.
Let me tell you. So when I came into the Jets, that was the number they gave me, because why? That's generally an offensive line number.
Exactly. That's like he's not making the team.
He ain't making the team, right? He's not making the team. So I kept that. When I made that team, I was like, I'm keeping this, because this number this reminded me all the time that everybody, they didn't think I was going to make it.
Yep.
And so I kept that throughout my career. But yeah, so you play with that chip on your shoulder, and what a benefit that is going forward. Every year, my mindset was never, hey, you've made it. Even when I signed the contracts, I could never get out of that undrafted rookie free agent mode where it's like, I got to earn this every day. I got to earn this.
That's truly the mindset. It doesn't matter if you're a first round pick. Doesn't matter if you're undrafted. That's the mindset that every single NFL player should have, because it's at some point, even if you're a first round pick, after year 2, 3, then you're getting treated like an undrafted free agent. So
Right.
at the end of the day, it's best to have that mindset coming in, because there's going to come a day where if you aren't at the top of your game, if you're not competing at a high level, and you're not thinking like an undrafted free agent, and you're going to get humbled. And it happens a lot.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And so now that's from a rookie perspective. As a veteran, and I was trying to think of some good stories, but I think these stories are so upsetting that I just kind of blocked them out. And I remember my wife talking to me about this, but just when you get older and now you've been on a team for a few years and you've had friends been on that team for a few years with you, and now those guys get released during training camp or whenever it is, they get caught. It is really, like, I don't want to over exaggerate, but it really is quite like a mourning process. You're like, wow,
Yeah.
bro, so I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And my wife, I remember when Jesse and I got married, and she had, this was my third year in the NFL. So she started learning about the league, and she was like, what's so funny is how there's sort of a distance, even though you and your friends are close. I can tell there's a distance between everybody, because I think everybody's kind of knows that, hey, this can happen in a second. You could be cut and gone. It's kind of like it's kind of funny. It's kind of like the mafia. You know how like the mafia, everybody's family, but somebody gets whacked and it's like, oh, well, we move on, and so just that's the business. So you move on.
That's the business.
That's the business, man. But it's like, but at the same time, you have these buddies you've been with a long time, and then all of a sudden they get cut and released. And I remember the times being there, with my friends, and just like, I don't even know what to say to you, man. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, you think about them as a human being. You think about their family. You think about all the work that they put in.
Right.
And how special of a human being and player, in most cases, those guys are. And to see that they're getting let go, it kind of lights a fire underneath you. Like, that can happen to me too. And I've been cut. I mean, it's tough. And as the older you get, you can see it coming.
Yeah.
And especially when the coaches and everyone in the building respect you, you can kind of see their temperament change, their mood change. It's almost like a funeral.
Yeah.
Everyone's quiet. It's like, oh man.
Yeah.
You start looking around like, oh, it's my time. I already know what's up. They don't have to tell you. But that's just a part of the business. You just got to be ready for it.
What was that? So now you didn't get cut until way late though in your career. I mean, so what was it, the last year in Kansas City?
Yeah, I got released week 5, and it was more so we were bringing a guy back from, I think it was a cornerback. I forget his name. He came back from suspension. The O-line room, we had 11 guys on the roster. Typically, you keep 8 to 10. We had 11. And we were looking in the room, there was a cap situation. I was a vested veteran. So when I got released, I became a free agent. So the idea behind it was, we'll release you, Jeff, and we'll bring you back, when someone gets hurt, knowing that you want to be here. But I can't release the younger guys. I can't release this person because, they become,
they can get picked right up.
Yeah, they can get picked up. They're not vested.
They're on waivers, right? But they get on waivers.
Yeah, they go on waivers, so they have the opportunity to get claimed and the potential of losing that person. And it's not necessarily that person's better than you now. I need that person in the future.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a ton of stuff that goes into it. Ultimately, when that happened to me, and I just was like, you know what? My body was hurting a little bit. I had a business. My family was back in Dallas. I was still in Kansas City, so I ultimately made the decision to say, you know what? It's my time. I'm just going to retire. I'm not going to come back. Yeah.
What was Andy Reid like through that process?
It was great, man. It was great. I mean, it's super transparent. It was, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. Ultimately, this is the plan. We want to bring you back. But when I decided not to come back, they fully supported it. They understood my decision. They respected it. And that's why I have so much respect for guys in that building. It wasn't just, hey, get your bag, get out of here. If we need you, we need you. It was, man, Jeff, I'm sorry. This is not what we wanted to do, but, this is the decision we have to make because of these factors.
Yeah. Let me ask you, so it's interesting you say that, because I was never released. I had to take pay cut.
Yeah.
I never gotten cut in my career. But I did, just like you, I decided not to come back. I decided to retire. And I had heard players say it's really nice to go out on your own terms, right?
Yeah.
Like you get to go out. I wholeheartedly disagree with that now. When I look back, all I wonder is, wow, I shut the door on something that maybe I could, what could one more year have been like?
Yeah.
What about your long-term health and stuff? And it's like, well, my long-term health is shot anyway. But what could one more year have been in that, been in that locker room? Because once it's done, man,
Once it's over, it's over.
Oh, and so now I'm like, damn, I wish I should have just ran the bus until the wheels fell off.
Well, and that's ultimately what I ended up doing. The year prior to that, I thought I was done. I was like, you know what, I'm going to retire. I went into the off season, telling every single team I'm done. I'm retired.
Yeah.
And then it got around summertime. I'm still training, and I'm still getting calls. And I talked to my agent, and he said what you said. You sure you're done? Because when it's done, it's done. When you close this door, it's not going to open back up. And ultimately, I was like, you know what? I'll give it one more go and see what happens. Yeah. And I'm happy I did because I went out on my own terms. I was able to go back and be a part of a Super Bowl team, and it was awesome.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great story. I remember it was real for me. So Kansas City had offered me just a basic contract to come back for my 10th season. And I brought it to my wife, and we can get into this another time, but she just wasn't having it. My wife had, I had the concussions. I had the Achilles the year before. She was just like, I can't do it anymore. My third baby was on the way. But it all became real to me around September, October time when Alan Wright, the Chiefs equipment manager, sent me the box. And have I talked about this? I don't know if I told you.
No, we never talked. We all get the box when it's over.
Oh, Jeff, I opened up that box and it had my cleats, and he had made some special T-shirts that had DeVito on it. And I just went, it makes me want to cry now. I went into the basement, man, and just cried and cried. It was like, oh, what did I do?
It's tough. I wish I could show you guys around my house. I have a locker in my garage that I built, so I can still feel like I'm in a locker room. I have all my old equipment, my cleats, helmet, jerseys. It's super cool. But it's every time I go out there, I'm like, damn, I wish I was still playing.
Oh man, I'm glad to know I'm not alone, man.
No, you're not alone, man. We all you'll never. I don't think any professional athlete or someone that's competitive doing something at the top of the top can just let go that easy. It's something in you. It's something you did your entire life. So we're going to always miss it, but ultimately our bodies, it just couldn't take it anymore. Our heart's still in it, but once your body's gone, your body's gone.
That's exactly right. Your body can't do it. Yeah, your body can't hold up. And when you try to steal another year, your body really does take a toll.
Exactly. And me being a competitor, one, I didn't want to look like crap. Yeah. Two, I didn't want to take an opportunity away from someone else, going out there pushing myself more than I need to. So that's why I made my decision.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so that's actually a good transition. So now we can transition to something a little bit lighter, talking about someone who might have taken an opportunity from someone when they were past their prime, and that's Tim Tebow. So we're talking about talking about my boy Tim. So I had an opportunity to play with Tebow in 2012 with the Jets, and you and I have talked about that it factor when it comes to leadership, right?
Yeah.
So the Eric Berrys of the world. Tebow is in that category. He has this knack that, for whatever reason, sometimes when you see it on TV, it comes off as a little corny. But when you're in the locker room with him, he really does have an energy about him that guys want to rally around. He can get guys going. That said, and I think that's what's really kept him around for so long, for the time he was in the NFL, and obviously this chance he just got was one of the reasons, is because he has that it factor that it's hard to get that in the locker room. And when you don't have it, it's really detrimental.
Yeah.
The problem is Tebow's he's a great college football player.
Yeah.
But I love him. Tim, I love you, but it's
a tough ask. A guy, what was it, 8 years out the league?
Yeah.
Switching positions, switching from quarterback, specialist. I put those guys in the same category. Quarterbacks get hit a little bit more, but it's not that physical of a position.
Right.
You're going from playing a not so physical position to going to tight end, which is an extension of O-line. That's in the trenches.
Right.
That's one of the most physical positions in football. and you're asking that guy to come from retirement after 8 years and block a grown man that's trying to make a football team. I knew that wasn't going to work out. Unfortunately, he got released, but I saw it coming.
Yeah. It's funny. I know Tim, I was thinking, man, if anybody can do it, he can do it. And I saw, all the pictures, right? He's got the huge biceps. He's all blown. I'm like, maybe he can do it. Maybe this man can do it. And then I saw that film and I was like, he just,
I will say this. Shout out to him for giving it a try.
Right.
Not being afraid to fail. And that's super. I give that major props.
Yeah.
A ton of respect for him going out there and giving it a try. But a big but, he probably shouldn't have gotten that opportunity.
No. Well, no, and I wanted to ask you about this. I mean, again, with Tim on the team, when I was with the Jets, we went down to Jacksonville, and Jacksonville is Tebow's spot. I mean, we got off that plane, and it was like the president got off that plane. I mean, it was just, they loved him down there. And so I think for Jacksonville, you start, it's still 90 guys that start on the roster, right?
Yeah.
I think to have Tim as one of your 90 guys and say, hey, roll the dice, see if he can play. But nothing else, we at least have a Tebow jersey in Jacksonville. Right? So now we sell this Jacksonville Tebow jersey.
Great marketing.
They probably
great marketing.
A ton of money on this. Just get him through the first preseason game so we can get the name on the back. So that's smart by them. What I did notice, though, and you just brought this up, is you see there are times where you get tight ends, especially coming from basketball, that can come in and be sort of your receiving tight end. Sorry, your receiving tight end, and they can go out there and they can jump and they can catch and they're speedy. Blocking is a whole different ballgame, right?
Yep.
You would think it'd be a lot harder to come in and run all those routes, catch those passes than block, but that is what we saw with Tebow. I think it shows it's exactly the opposite. When you got to put your face in there and take on an end and take on a linebacker and block those guys out of there head on, that takes some fortitude. I mean, you got to have that in you. That's not doesn't matter how much talent you have, doesn't matter how strong you are. If you can't bring it, you got no chance.
It's not an easy job. I know a lot of people watch the television. They don't really watch the O-line and D-line, but that is one of the toughest things to do. And I hear my uncles and my family members always screaming, just stay in front of them. Just block them. It's easy. Just block them. He's got to for 2 seconds. That's all you got to do.
That's right.
But there's so much more to it, man. And unfortunately, he was too far behind to ever catch up. So like I said, shout out to him for giving it a try.
What do you think of? Everybody talks about how they think LeBron James would be, coming into the league, or somebody like that coming to the league would be a great tight end. And again, I think for receiving aspect of it, sure, I think that would. Yeah. But I wonder, because Tebow played quarterback. I mean, obviously Tebow's been in some physical.
He has some type of physicality.
Yeah, and you can tell he didn't want that smoke. You think? I wonder now. I thought, LeBron James would probably come in and be a killer. Now, after watching Tebow, I'm thinking, maybe as a receiving tight end, but
as a receiving tight end, probably so, but not as a blocker. I mean, you look at the guys now that converted from, basketball to football. I mean, I don't know if those were the greatest blockers. I mean,
no.
You think of Antonio Gates, you don't think about him blocking. No. You think about all the touchdowns he scored, all the plays he made in San Diego as a receiving tight end. And the same for a ton of guys like that. But there's opportunity for them. They go to the right situation. Coaches put them in positions to be successful. Then there's room for that. But, we never got to see Tebow as a receiving tight end. So I don't know what his potential was there, but I know he wasn't a great blocker.
No, he was either blocking or done. But like with Gates, I remember we played San Diego a million times. And whenever he was in, and it was a run situation, 12 personnel, second and 3, we were thinking, hey, it's running the opposite way. Yeah. He's backside cut off. They're never running to him. He's never the point man. So never. I think it's just it just highlighted. I think it was a good sort of case study in how difficult blocking in the NFL is, and how, again, you can be as talented as you want. If you don't have that mindset, if you have that killer attitude, you got nothing. You got
get embarrassed.
No. So let's finish with this, Jeff. Just, first preseason game, I think the biggest win for me is there were no injuries, right? That's the first thing I'm looking at, both as a player and now as a fan. No injuries. That, great. We got out of it. Guys got to get out of there, get some real reps. I don't like to do a lot of sort of diagnosing things. I mean, it's really quick. Everything's very vanilla. So I don't think it's a game worth breaking down, though obviously in the future you and I will be breaking down games in detail. But the one quick thing before we go, the offensive line. You got one series with the offensive line. What'd you think? How did they gel up front?
One, I love the group, from left to right. I love all the guys that they have in there. I like the chemistry that they look to have so far. I mean, right off the bat, first play, 10-yard gain, and they got some serious movement. I love the physicality of the two rookies. They came out ready to go. Usually guys are nervous their first game, but Creed and Trey both looked like they were trying to take guys' heads off in the limited snaps that they had. So that's encouraging. And then Name, same thing, at right tackle. So I think this group, they're going to come together throughout this preseason, and right out the gate, they have a tough one with Cleveland. So can't wait for that one.
Yeah, that'll be big. And now, just real quick, again, before we go, Kyle Long comes back. Where do you put him, at that right tackle position now? Because Trey's doing so well?
No, man, I'm keeping it the same, man. And that's the way Coach Reed rolls. I'm keeping it the same. I mean, they look good. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
There you go. That's good.
If those guys are doing well and they're doing what they're supposed to, I wouldn't change a thing. And that's not to say Kyle isn't a great player. It's just the way things work in the NFL. It's next man up, and if that guy capitalizes on the opportunity, you can't take that away from him.
That's great. Great wisdom. Big Jeff, thank you so much. Chiefs Kingdom, we'll see you next week. Talking about the second preseason game, getting closer to the season, what that's like, all stuff from a player's perspective. Thank you for tuning in. Talk soon, Big Jeff.
Go Chiefs.